Okay, so we got an interesting video. We got Demetrious Johnson sticking up for Arman and demanding that he is next for Topuria, and I completely agree. I'm gonna add something on to what Demetrious Johnson said, but before we get into it, I just wanted to say I hope everybody had their fun over the last few days. Canadian, American, no matter what it is. I had a wedding to go to on the first, and yesterday I had a little get together with a few of my friends. I'm not a big drinker, but we played beer darts, and man, I like I said, I'm not a big drinker. I'm clipping into my Coley, but yeah, it was fun. Hope you guys had fun. Now let's get into it here. Demetrius Johnson recently made a reaction to UFC 317. I'm sure that if you're watching this channel, you already know about Demetrious Johnson's channel, but if you don't know, go sub to him. He started a podcast with MMA Guru and that, but we're gonna watch we're gonna watch this here. I'm gonna read the article and then okay, I'm gonna try and do this as organized as I can. Let's just play the video. I'm rambling.
Oh! Oh! Ooh! He came in with that 2-3. Ooh! Like I said before, Charles Oliveira gets hurt every single time he fights. Every time he fights. Every time he fights. Every time. Watch, he walks straight in with his head up and he goes 2-3. Watch this. 2-3. Bop. That was it. Damn, he is out. Don't give it to Justin Gaethje. Give it to Arman Sarukian. I mean, the best lightweight in the world is Makhachev. See, I feel like Ilia is going to be a guy who fights 3 or 4 more times and retire. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is why I say it's a reality TV show. It's like, obviously, Arman Sarukian is the #1 contender. He's ranked #1, whatever you guys want to, go by the rankings. But they're forcing this fight with Paddy versus Ilia Topuria just because it's probably going to sell more.
All right. So, once again, shout out to GOAT, Demetrius Johnson. But he said a lot there. This article basically has his written statement. I'm too lazy to read this article. If you want to read it, it'll be down below. But he says it needs to be him, Arman Sarukian. This is why I say UFC, it's a reality TV show. It's like, obviously, Arman Sarukian is the #1 contender. He's ranked #1. Whatever you guys want to go by the rankings, but they're forcing this fight with Paddy Pimblett versus Topuria because it's probably going to sell more. This article was written so poorly, I need to say that. But I think the rightful person who should be getting the next title shot at lightweight is Arman Sarukian. Ilia is going to be a guy that who fights 3 or 4 more times and then retires. That is exactly the point. This is different case. I'm gonna start talking more about the business than mixed martial arts. And those that you like this kind of content, you're gonna love this. So with Ilia Topuria, what you have is your next superstar, right? We've had GSP, we've had Brock Lesnar, we had Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell back in the day. All these guys. Ilia Topuria, kind of like Alex Pereira, just made a statement. He's undefeated. He just knocked out Volkanovski. He just knocked out Max Holloway, the only person to knock out Holloway after Holloway ran through everybody at featherweight, had really close fights with Volkanovski. Like, looking back at those 3 fights, those really were the 1A and 1B fighting each other in their era. But then you have Ilya come in. I'm not done. I don't know. Then you have Ilia Topuria come in, and he starches Volkanovski. Yes, it was 3 months after, and you know, did Volkanovski recover off of the Islam knockout in 3 months? No. But again, Volk looked amazing in the first. And it's just the speed, the power, and the biggest thing, the technique. The fact that this guy has legit boxing technique, which is something you rarely see in the UFC. We call Holloway the best boxer, right? Which he really is. It's between him and Dustin, right? And Dustin beat him twice. Maybe we'll beat him a third time. But with Ilia Topuria, you look at the combinations, you look at his shell, you look at the way how he sets up, how he rips shots to the body, and then you add in the wrestling, denying Oliveira's takedown and going into Oliveira's guard willingly. Nobody does that, and it's making a major star. He's a big star in Spain. He's a big star for the casuals and for the hardcores. A lot like Connor was. Now, maybe Topuria has a boxing match. I mean, I think out of every MMA fighter, he would probably do the best in a boxing match. But I don't see him having the Floyd Mayweather fight right now, right? I don't think Floyd wants anything to do with Topuria, especially at his age. Where you are going to get a guy who is committed to the UFC, the opposite of Connor, who cares about his legacy, and hopefully doesn't go out and party. Well, I mean, you can see him at parties, but not to the extent of Connor, right? And this is very big for the UFC right now. This is very big in 2025, where most of the year we were talking about the UFC is going downhill with these cards suck. The matchmaking sucks, which it still does. They didn't have their star. Magomed and Goliath took out Pereira, right? I feel like the point was, you know, we'll never know. If Pereira beat Uncle Ivan, knocked him out, and Jones was adamant of not fighting Tom, but wanted Alex, I feel like they could have been, alright, here's the Alex fight. Sign it. Maybe he would have, maybe he wouldn't. I think it would have added more to Jones' legacy, but the real fight is um, John versus Tom, which is more on that. There's John Jones unretiring. Maybe I'll make a video on that. What am I saying? But this is different with Topuria. The mindset that he has. Even my mom watched the Joe Rogan podcast that he did, and she even picked up on this guy's mindset, especially to her a cage fighter, right? This guy has an incredible mindset, an incredible work ethic. He has power, he has speed, but it's the mindset that really gets you from point A to point B. And we're in a time in MMA and UFC, right? Where we shit on everybody who makes it fun. Anybody who trash talks, anybody who tries to hype up a fight. The new thing now is, oh my god, I can't wait for him to get humbled. I can't wait for him to get starched. And it's like, fuck, this is not football. This is not, European football. This is MMA. This is a bloody sport. You're making stars off of, knockout submissions, wars. And the way you add to Ilia Topuria right now, who's chasing Islam, he just starts Charles, one of Arman's best wins, or Islam's best wins, and Arman's. If he goes out there, and I know Dana White hates Arman, but I think he's looking at this how I'm putting it out right now. You have the number one contender, you have a guy that gave Islam his toughest fight, and you have this machine just running through everybody. Ilia Topuria, I feel like knocks out Arman in the first or second round. I feel with Arman's next win, it's going to be the biggest test. I think his grappling may even be better than what Islam's is at 155. I think Islam is a lot more well rounded. The Dagestani wrestling, but also he's become a legitimate kickboxer. Has really good kicks, really good combinations, which we saw from Khabib right as he retired. So we're getting to see that with Islam. We're getting to see what this champion really do. And now we're going to see it against JDM, right? But with Ilia, he talks, he's better on the mic. He's more promotable. Just looking at Ilia Topuria himself, a young guy, very, sharp, handsome guy, Spanish. Spain is a major market that the UFC would love to get into. Same as Conor was with Ireland. This guy can bring the UFC to the next level. And that's the part where Demetrious Johnson didn't lay out, and vice versa for Arman. If Arman can go out there and hand Ilia his first loss, he beats one of the biggest hype trains of all time. It's a win-win, right? But like for the UFC, for Dana White, for this matchmaking, they cannot do what they're doing now. They cannot have Ilia Topuria fighting the number 8 contender. They cannot have Ilia Topuria fighting Benito Dariush. They need to make sure every fight that they give Ilia Topuria either builds onto his stardom or is against a guy who can take that stardom and run with it. Paddy Pimblett, right? That's the biggest one. The one where he brought him into the cage. And, you know, like Demetrius reacted, and I'm gonna pull up this video, right? Where Dana White, at the press conference, says this.
Ilia, after the fight, he called in Paddy Pimblett and brought him into the cage, and they had to face off. Obviously, they've got a long history together. I know there's a lot of options on the table for Ilia, but when he shows that type of interest in a fight, does that make you want to make it?
Well, I don't know who the hell let him in there. That should have never happened. Let's start there. I was already back in my room, or that would have never happened. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think about that stuff tonight, other than, obviously the van fight. But, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
First of all, why are you not thinking about this, Dana White? I hope you were just saying this in the public. I hope that Dana White sees what Ilia Topuria is. But again, I agree with him even with bringing in Paddy. It's the wrong move. Let's save the Paddy fight for a big England card or a Spain card. Go out there and start the number 1 contender who gave the guy that you are chasing his toughest fight. Who gave the guy that you just beat, well, one of his toughest fights.
My thing with with Topuria is his wife and kid are in the octagon. That's not the fight that it's just, yeah.
It was fun to watch.
It shouldn't happen.
It was fun to watch.
Well, that's not really what we do.
That's not really what we do. Vanderlei Silva, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, Rashad Evans, John Jones. Let's go. Well, what other ones do they bring into the cage? GSP with Matt Killers. I don't like your performance. We don't do that anymore. We don't bring in Joshua Van right after the Pantoja fight. Why? Why is it that me, a fucking 21-year-old with cerebral palsy, is the one trying to explain to people from a sport perspective what the business perspective? Ilia Topuria is different. Love him or hate him, this guy is doing something that Nobody is that. Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo. 10 years undefeated. He knocked out Eddie Alvarez. You look at what they did afterwards. You know, they lost. They won. With Ilia Topuria, man. Volk just won the title back. Max just knocked out Gaethje. Was the fight that you were talking about. Why are you gonna give him Gaethje when he already beat the guy that's with him, and Gaethje's only win is against Fiziev? I don't care that he beat Dustin Poirier. What if Max beats Poirier? Which, the rematch is big for Max. And I do think that is definitely a fight that will sell if Max makes it to the number one contenders fight. I mean, Max is insanely promotable, and having 2 wins over a top 15 fighter, I mean, there's nothing better. Maybe we'll see a rematch with Volk, but I really don't want to see it, if I'm being honest. I love Volk too much. But I don't get it, man. I don't get it how Demetrious Johnson has to be the one to stand up for the number one contender. To be the one like, okay, we have a really big star here. Let's make him an even bigger star. Let's really plan out what we're gonna do, who he needs to beat to set up the Eastbound fight, which should be your main focus. You got DDP versus Hamzat, which will make a massive star. You need multiple stars. You can't do what you did with Connor. You can't do what you did with Pereira, where you're relying on one guy to carry the entire organization. Let me before we go, I want to bring up a picture. UFC. And this is something, it really makes no sense to me why they don't do it anymore. Okay, can I find the photo, please? Boom. Okay, I'm gonna open, there we go. Fuck it, we're going to Reddit, I guess. This. Why aren't we doing this anymore? This is such an iconic photo. GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones, Cain Velasquez, Frankie Edgar, who was a beast, Jose Aldo before the Conor fight, Dominic Cruz in his prime. Why don't we have press conferences with DDP, Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria, Marab, Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko? Promotion! That's what I'm trying to get at. But, I'm getting off topic. Demetrious Johnson, completely right. Arman needs to be next before the Paddy fight. It makes the Paddy fight that much more. And, yeah. That's what I got, though. Thanks for watching. Later. And let me know. Do you agree with me? Like, do you see what I'm trying to lay out? Where I want the UFC to logically think through how they are building Ilia Topuria, and I want them to do a better job than they did with Connor, because it just makes the next superstar that much better. But that's what I got. Later.